I would absolutely love them to stay up. I think the progress stops here. There are so many red flags here. Can they be as bad again this season? Surely not. The Premier League is back this weekend, as is traditional now. Here are my 1 to 20 predictions. Now, we normally go from bottom to top on these, but being our channel has such a focus on the Championship, we're going to go in order that teams were promoted to the Premier League. That means we start with playoff winners Luton Town. Incredible rise from non-league to the Premier League. Incredible story, been told many, many times. I won't do it again. I would absolutely love them to stay up, but it's going to be so difficult, isn't it? I think there's going to be some great scenes, some great nights probably at the Kenny this season. I suspect 1 or 2 giants will be slayed, but ultimately I do have Luton coming back down in 18th place after a valiant battle for survival. Next up, Sheffield United, and I've got to be honest, I'm really, really worried about them. They got up in a maybe more steady rather than spectacular manner, if that's not doing down the achievement. And now their 2 best players, Iliman Ndiaye, sold, Sander Berge, sold. There's a fair argument now they're up a division with a worse team that got them there and without too much in terms of budget. I really hate to do this to the Blades fans, but I think you know what's coming. Sheffield United, bottom. So that's 2 of last season's 3 promoted teams going down then. How depressing, and I hope that doesn't happen, of course. I do have Burnley staying up though. I've got them in 15th spot. Of course, they'll have less in terms of individual quality than most other teams who've been up there for longer. But if Burnley can lean into last season's pattern of play, they should pick up wins. If they stick to their principles, I think they survive. Here's Forest. They survived season 1 last year after being promoted via the playoffs. I trust Steve Cooper a lot, but was very concerned for Forest at various points last season with that squad churn, and the away form was pretty dire, wasn't it? I reckon this season should be a smoother ride. In theory, Steve Cooper is better than ever. Ins and outs, much calmer. And I think Forest will improve a little bit from last season's 16th place spot. I've got them rising 3 into 13th. Bournemouth did fantastic work to survive last season. And while others stank out the place below them, they were well over that sort of 35-point target and into double figures for games won. I've got to admit that when Parker went early in the season, I thought chaos, Bournemouth are going to go down. But Gary O'Neill did really well. The new ownership stepped up, didn't they, in January in that window. New boss Iraola in the dugout. If he is competent, I think they're going to be safe again. I've got Bournemouth surviving, but down 1 from last season in 16th. Well, Fulham absolutely bossed it last season, didn't they? I was so worried that they were just so attacking down in the EFL that adjusting and doing that against harder opposition would be too difficult. Apparently not for Marco Silva and the Fulham boys. I've got them similarly placed actually to last season's 10th. 1 down, in fact, in 11th. They seem to have got through a rather disruptive summer of links with people leaving the club. If those key guys are still there come September, this could be the start of, I think, another lengthy top flight run at the Cottage. Brentford, the shining example for plenty of Championship teams to aspire to with their steady progress over the past decade. I've got to say though, I think the progress stops here. Nothing too dramatic. I just think the 5 years of either equaling or beating the previous season levels off here, and last season's 9th becomes a bit of a new high watermark. Natural ceiling, maybe the absence of Ivan Toney as well. I've got Brentford down 3 in 12th. Lots of pre-season excitement about Aston Villa. Gerrard to Emery was a managerial switch that really seemed to take them up a level or 2 last season. 7th in the end was Villa's highest finish since 2010 and a huge jump from the previous year in 14th. For that reason though, and the sheer power of the big boys, I don't see them going any higher than that, but I am seeing another good season holding right where they were, 7th place again for Villa. Okay, I'll admit this one is a bit of a gamble. You've got to have one, haven't you? But I'm going to apply some championship rules to the Premier League. We normally say in the EFL, the flags for relegation there are owners, chaos, size, and bad luck. I'm seeing a big whole truckload of chaos at Wolves right now. Managerial change on the eve of the season. Lots of talk about managing that FFP situation, and some rather big characters in the dressing room have been sold. I've got that being slightly too much for Gary O'Neill, who we've praised for his job at Bournemouth, to cope with. Actually got Wolves going down in 19th position. Newcastle have moved quickly and efficiently straight into the top four under Eddie Howe. I'm sure we all think that that long-term trend is going to be up for Newcastle, given the huge financial backing that they've got. But I've actually got them dropping down this season. Why? A mixture of Champions League grind added to what they were doing, and certain teams that finished above them last season returning to what we consider their normal levels of power. So Newcastle down 2 in 6th place. Brighton, wow, what a season last time out. A 6th place finish despite losing their manager earlier in the season, and so much praise, seemingly universal love, for their consistently impressive work. I'm annoyingly going to be repeating some stuff I said about Brentford and about Newcastle for my reasoning for this pick. Like Brentford, I think 6th, brilliant as it was, might turn out to be a little bit of a peak. And like Newcastle, European football plus others potentially getting back into that top 6 might make it tough for a repeat. Look, I would love to see Brighton establish themselves in the top 6, but I don't think that is going to happen next season. Brighton in 9th. Roy Hodgson and Crystal Palace, the match made in heaven continues. Hodgson came back in at the end of last season, in March time, I think, and it worked rather well, I think we'd all admit. He's going to do the whole season this time, all being well, but without his talisman, Wilf Zaha, who's now gone off to play in Turkey. Palace, normally around the middle. They've actually improved the past few seasons, haven't they? Feels like I've said this so many times, but it's another drop for me, down 3 in 14th. Another one I've got down as a bit of a gamble. West Ham finished in 14th last season and sold their best player, Declan Rice, too. I'm sure plenty of people will reasonably think that means backwards or sideways, but I actually had West Ham as quite big underperformers in the Premier League last season. Throw in the fact that I'm pretty trusting of their recruitment and of their manager, so I've actually got them going back up in to the top half of the table and finishing in 10th. Famous last words, I'm sure, could get this one very wrong. Okay, here come the established order now, and all teams who've been up at the top level for multiple decades, and here comes Manchester City. Now, look, I get the arguments about doing 4 in a row being so difficult, and that the psychology of just keeping on winning and winning is hard for us mere mortals to kind of process. I just feel that unless there's big off-pitch issues with this financial stuff and possible sanctions, that Man City are going to win the league again. I know it comes across as boring, but I'm just not seeing anything to change my mind. Sorry, Man City first, again. Chelsea, can they be as bad again this season? Surely not. Pochettino in, some stability now from the owner having been in since last season, although I do understand why people will still be a little bit distrusting of Mr. Bowley. I just think that if they are in any way competent, which clearly they weren't last season, that they're going to be way higher this campaign. I'm not talking title challenge here, but I've got Chelsea back into the leading pack in 5th spot. Spurs next, and this is more a feeling than anything sort of data-led, and not a good feeling either. I'm just not getting a sense of forward momentum from Spurs at all. Certainly not compared to the clubs that they're going to be around in the table. The Harry Kane stuff every summer is so exhausting. Can't think what it must be like for the Spurs fans. I'm just an outsider. And I think unless the manager just comes in and is really good, that they're not actually going to improve much at all. For that reason, I've got Spurs staying right where they are in 8th spot. I quite like Erik ten Hag, Manchester United manager, 3rd place last season, very decent trophy in the cabinet too. Can I see them jumping to the level of output that the two teams ahead of them produced last season? No. Can I see the top 6 being a little more competitive this season than it was last season? Yes. So, even though I think Manchester United will be on a decent long-term trend with Ten Hag, I've actually got them dropping 1 place this season and finishing in 4th. And that 4th would be 1 place behind Liverpool in 3rd. Now, I must confess, I think it might be looked back upon as a bit of a golden period, past tense, for Liverpool. And look, to score 90 plus points 3 times and only have 1 title to show for it almost feels a little unfair. Wrong place, wrong time. I think they're going to be back and better than they were last season, but that incredible team of 2 or 3 years ago has really been broken up now, and it might still take another year or 2 if they're going to get back to those incredible heights. Do have them improving though. 3rd place for Klopp and Liverpool. So that leaves us 1 space at the top and 1 at the bottom, and Everton and Arsenal to come. I think you can all see where this is going. Now, I've toyed with the idea of putting Everton to go down and changed my mind about 10 times. In theory, Sean Dyche makes them better and they will score more points than last season. In practice though, what are the Premier League going to do about this FFP breach, and when will any punishment be handed out? If it was the EFL, I'd have a fair idea what to expect, but this is a first in the Premier League, so we just don't know what's going to happen. Now, I'm completely down the rabbit hole with this prediction, but I reckon there will be a points deduction big enough to knock Everton down the table, but not big enough to relegate them. So I've got them back in 17th place, surviving just. And so that leaves our longest standing top flight team, Arsenal, in 2nd. Honestly, in the interests of competitive balance, I'd actually love to see those Arsenal transfer additions in the summer take them up 1 place and win them the title. But as I said in the Manchester City segment, I just don't think anything other than quite big off-pitch trouble and sanctions is going to stop City winning again. Love what Arsenal did last season. Think they're going to be slightly better this season, but don't think it's going to take them to the title yet. 2nd place again for Arsenal. There you go, my 1 to 20 Premier League predictions all complete. Let me know what you think down there in the comments. And please, I am a grown adult man. Look at all the grey in my beard if you don't believe me. Please don't get emotional in the comments. I'd love to see everybody have a lovely old season. All 20 teams can win every single week, but alas, sadly, life is not like that. I know I'll still get plenty of those really dull, my team should be higher comments, but if you were able to stick your own 1 to 20 in the comments instead of saying that, that might be better for mine and everybody's sanity. Now, I know we're already off and running down in the EFL, but this is my 3rd set of predictions of the summer, so click up here to see the Championship 1 to 24 rankings, or click up here to see the League 1 1 to 24 predictions. And look, if you manage to sit through all 3 of these videos in one go, I've got a medal waiting here for you.